Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Meyer, and before I begin, I'd really just like to thank Katie and everybody else who worked on this conference for their hard work in putting it all together and for including me despite the fact that I was unable to attend in person. And of course, I'd also like to thank Rachel for chairing this session. Now, last time I spoke at the Roman Finds Group was in 2022. And at that meeting, I told you about the imaging techniques my research project, Illuminating the Stylus tablets of Vindolanda, was using to try to recover text from Stylus tablets at Vindolanda. In the last 3 years, we have come a long way. Our work with RTI and 3D digital scanning has yielded a new text, which I'll present to you briefly today. And we've now tested CT scanners on replica tablets and started investigating the Selene photometric stereo system developed by the Factum Foundation. This project is not, however, limited to recovering text from Stylus tablets. We're also interested in the Stylus tablets as artifacts and are looking at how they were used in the writing process, to what purposes they were put, that is to say, what context was deemed appropriate for Stylus tablets as opposed to ink and other media, and what their places of deposition can tell us about literacy, writing, and archiving on the sites from which they've been discovered. Now today, I'd like to touch on each of these subjects, beginning with a recap of the imaging work we've done in the last 5 years. I'll then discuss the newly published Stylus tablet from Vindolanda and some of the ways it interacts with other small finds. Finally, I'll give you a glimpse of the future of our project. This will include further technologies we intend to experiment with in the near future in order to recover text and improve readings of already published texts, but also the expansion of our project to include more collections and our continuing determination to study Stylus tablets as artifacts, not just as media for the written word. Over the last 5 years, I and my colleagues, Alex Mullen, Roger Tomlin, and Barbara Burley, have been trying to find the best way to get legible images of Roman Stylus tablets. The Stylus tablets from Vindolanda are, for the most part, made of imported larch, and when complete, they are on average 140 by 110 millimeters and about 5 millimeters thick. In antiquity, the recesses, like the one you can see on this tablet, were filled with wax, and a stylus, normally made of iron or copper alloy, was used to write in the wax. The wax could then be smoothed and reused or replaced so that the tablet could be used again. Because the wax that once served as the primary writing surface of these tablets is only preserved in the rarest of circumstances, we are dependent on accidental marks left on the tablets themselves when styli passed through the wax and carved in the wood that lay beneath it. These marks are inconsistent and shallow, and furthermore, they're often palimpsest, like parts of this tablet are, meaning that the remains of more than one text is preserved on the tablet. Over the last 5 years, we've been experimenting with RTI and 3D scanning in particular in order to make the accidental marks on these tablets visible and to read the texts they preserved. I'm sure many of you are familiar with RTI, but it's a single-camera multi-light technology that can create virtual models of objects using raking light to highlight incised details. The results of the RTI we performed on the tablet we've recently published look something like this. Now, hopefully here you can see some of the text from this tablet, including, I would point out specifically, this Q right here, and then on the bottom line, the word erronem coming across. And these will be significant in just a moment. RTI has historically been the most effective method of recording flat and semi-flat inscribed objects, and we've had great success with it. However, we have also experimented with 3D scanning. Specifically, we used a Faro Quantum M arm scanner to create 3D images of many of the Stylus tablets housed at Vindolanda. This scanner has a resolution of about 0.03 millimeters, which is about 30 micrometers, and produced images like this one, also of the recently published tablet. And here we have, just for reference, an even closer detail than the one that I showed you before, but hopefully you can make out right here that Q from the previous slide, and then the top of the word erronem filling the bottom of each of these two images. And these are just two slightly different renderings of the same 3D model. Ultimately, the combination of the RTIs and 3D images I just showed you allowed us to make out the last 3 words of this tablet, and you can hopefully see them here, beginning in the bottom left with a nicely shaped S, and then following through with the words Solutum Fugitivum Erronem. This fragment of text may not seem like much, but it's specific to a single type of document, namely a deed of sale for an enslaved person. Ours is just the 12th Latin document of this type ever recovered, but the comparanda are such that they allow us to restore more of this text. And when complete, it would have looked very much like this example, which Roger Tomlin published in 2003. Tomlin's is the only other deed of sale for an enslaved person that we have from Roman Britain. And I've given you the full text here and just underlined the text that overlaps with that we have from the Vindolanda tablet. Here's a drawing of that tablet from London and an English translation of the entire text, and I think it's worth taking a moment to read. Vegetus, assistant slave of Montanus, the slave of the august emperor and sometime assistant slave of Jucundus, has bought and received by Mancipium the girl Fortunata, or by whatever name she's known, by nationality a Diablintian from Albicianus, for 600 denarii, and that the girl in question is transferred in good health, that she is warranted not to be liable to wander or run away, but that if anyone lays claim to the girl in question or to any share of her, something's missing, in the wax which he has written and sworn by the genius of the Emperor Caesar. Now the London text is pretty indicative of this genre, though not the most complete version. But when they're all taken together, we can easily reconstruct exactly what the Vinda tablet would have been like had we had the whole text, without the details at least. So it would have had the name of the purchaser and said bought and received, the enslaved person's name, or by what other name he is known, and we know that this is a man in our case, the enslaved man's age and or his origin, if they appeared, from the person that he bought the enslaved person from, and then this line that we have. It is warranted that this man has been handed over healthy and free from deceit and crime, and that he is not a fugitive or a wanderer. This text is intrinsically interesting because of its content, which records the presence, if not sale, of a high-value enslaved person at Vindolanda, and the extension of formal Roman legal procedure to the northern frontier, but also because it intersects with the material record. Enslaved people are very difficult, if not impossible, to identify in the material record. However, we can hope to find archaeological evidence of enslaved people and slavery as an institution. At Vindolanda, slavery is well documented in the writing tablets, but may also be visible in the material record in the form of shackles. Indeed, we have several shackles from the site, of which this is the most photogenic. Still, these shackles can be as easily associated with soldiers and captives as they could be with enslaved people. These connections are interesting, but we should also keep in mind that the Stylus tablets are artifacts in their own right and have a great deal to teach us. For example, the format of the recently published tablet from Vindolanda is peculiar. Based on other examples of this type of document, we can infer that the tablet we have is the first of 3 tablets in a triptych, which would have contained 2 copies of the text and a list of witnesses. Interestingly, the initial tablets of triptychs were normally written with the binding holes below the text. There are, however, no binding holes surviving on our tablet. We must infer, therefore, that the binding holes were above the text in the missing portion of this tablet. This may not seem significant, but it suggests that either the text was written on a tablet that had yet to be assembled into a triptych, or that the holes had not been drilled when the text was written, and that they were subsequently drilled in the wrong position. We could also infer or suggest that the holes were never drilled in this tablet at all and that it was a draft. Finally, one might suggest that this tablet was part of an irregular polyptych in which an extra tablet had been inserted. Whatever the case, this tablet provides a small piece of evidence for the ways in which the tablets were written upon in antiquity. Tablets and other writing material may also be used as proxies for literacy in the Roman world. We can maintain with some confidence that the population of sites that have produced writing material, including ink and wax tablets, style, and other writing implements, as well as stone inscriptions, included at least some literate people. Close examination of where these artifacts were discovered may also provide us with some information about who these literate people were and for what purposes they used writing. As part of our research, Anna Willey and I have started mapping these artifacts at Vindolanda. So far, we have produced maps like this, admittedly terrible one, which records the fine spots of style. Once they're reconciled with archaeological information, maps such as this and the others we are working on have the potential to demonstrate the physical and demographic extent of literacy on specific sites. This information in turn could be used to extrapolate onto other sites and the population of Roman Britain more broadly. By combining writing-related artifacts with the content of wax and stylus tablets at Vindolanda and elsewhere, we hope to synthesize all types of evidence for literacy on the site, and we expect to expand this study to other sites, including London. While our chronological and physical examination of writing-related material is relatively straightforward, though extremely time-consuming, we are still left with the vexing problem of reading stylus tablets. I hope that my brief discussion of the tablet we have recently published demonstrates the importance of every tablet we can decipher, and therefore the urgency of trying to do more. Thus far, our work has revealed decipherable text on several more tablets from Vindolanda, which we will publish in due course, but we're also searching for additional ways to collect data. At the moment, we find that RTI and PTM are the most effective methods of reading these texts, but we have also identified photometric stereo as a promising technology. Specifically, we are interested in the Selene photometric stereo system developed by the Factum Foundation in Spain. This technology has been brought to bear on several other flat and semi-flat media, including manuscripts, drawings, copper plates, and paintings, with remarkable results. And we have every reason to believe it will be effective on stylus tablets as well. Like RTI, the Selene is a single-camera multi-light system which depends on shadows to provide texture information that can be digitally processed to produce manipulatable 3D images and customizable lighting. Its strength lies, however, in the software package Factum has produced. We have not yet had the opportunity to test the Selene system on an actual stylus tablet, but preliminary experiments with a replica tablet have produced very encouraging results, including this image of a lightly incised replica tablet. And here are the results of that experiment with a replica tablet, and hopefully you can read out the Latin there, but for anybody who needs a translation, it says, give this to Alex, who is in Ontario. It was written by Anna at Latin Now. And here's a smaller detail of that tablet with more natural colors on it, and I hope that you can make out the word here, scripsa. We hope to use this system on stylus tablets from Vindolanda and London in the near future. However, I'm also conscious of the danger of believing that the perfect technology that will solve all of our problems is right around the corner, and aware that we cannot hope to remove tablets from storage every time we identify a promising technology. I'm also aware that previous imaging campaigns have produced more information than we have yet to exploit to its full potential. I'm therefore very interested in finding ways we can use legacy data to learn more from stylus tablets that have already been subjected to digital photography and 3D scanning. Already, the introduction of Relight to complement or replace RTI Viewer has the potential to improve the ways we can visualize and manipulate legacy RTI and PTM data, starting with the raw photographs. Likewise, improving 3D modeling software that does not sample the input data can produce better results. Unfortunately, I don't yet have improved images I can share with you. I do, however, believe that improvements in software, including the Selene system, are our best hope for improving readings in the near future. Of course, it's also impossible to consider technological improvements in any field without mentioning computer learning and artificial intelligence. It is very possible that these fields will allow us to learn more from limited information. The rapid evolution of these technologies stresses the importance of interdisciplinary studies. Both computer learning and artificial intelligence are far beyond me, though I can see their utility. They can help us move from isolated letters to complete words, and complete words to sentences and paragraphs. I'd also like to think that computer learning and artificial intelligence could help us with the palimpsest problem, which is particularly troublesome. Still, we need something to learn from, so the publication of more stylus tablets is of the utmost importance. At this point, texts from fewer than 20% of known stylus tablets from Roman Britain have been read and published. In fact, there are over 350 from Vindolanda and over 250 unpublished tablets from London, not even including unpublished tablets from the Bloomberg excavation. In the coming years, I and my collaborators will continue to use established and emerging technologies to publish new and improved texts. But we're also trying to learn as much as possible from tablets and other writing-related artifacts as indicators of literacy at Vindolanda, in London, and at archaeological sites around the empire. So thank you very much for your attention. It's been an honor to speak to you. And also, I feel as a final note, I should mention to you that if you would like to learn more about the Stylus tablet that we've just recently published, you can go to Britannia, and you will find it in the 2024 issue, and it is open access, so you can get to it from wherever you are. Great. Thank you very much.